I'm giving in. I will finally try Tailwind CSS. I know, you either love it or hate it, but I don't belong to any of those camps because, well, I didn't try it out until now, and I can't form an objective opinion if I don't. And that's exactly what this video is for. I will try to recreate a menu bar that I created in my previous video using Tailwind CSS, and I will share my thought process as I'm exploring Tailwind for the very first time. Of course, the video will be edited, so you won't have to watch me read the documentation, you will just get the juicy parts. Alright, let's see what all the fuss is about. Before we dig in, let me make it clear that I didn't try Tailwind before. I understand how it works. I understand that you have a number of utility classes that you add to your HTML, and that way you're able to really quickly create a design that looks and works great. I will try to recreate this menu bar that I created in the previous video, and let's see how difficult or easy that actually is, and let's see where we end up. I will share my thought process as I go along and as I explore Tailwind for the first time, and if I'm doing something incredibly wrong and you know better, please let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to learn more about Tailwind CSS. This CodePen will be a reference point, and this one is going to be the CodePen that we will work on. I already prepared HTML. We have a header h1 with a logo, and logo is currently invisible because it's white. We have a navigation menu with the UL and a number of LI items, and each of those contains a link. We're going to start from here, and I'll immediately jump to Tailwind CSS landing page. I'll just click get started here. I will actually use Tailwind directly on CodePen, so I will not dig into this. Here are the basic concepts of Tailwind explained, but I don't want that. I just want to see the classes that are available so I can start using them immediately. For this video, I will pretend that I'm one of those people who doesn't read getting started guides. All right, I'll open docs. Okay, I guess I can find everything that I need right here. I have my layout classes here, flexbox and grid, and so on and so on. As expected, this is like writing CSS, but I'm just going to write it in HTML. All right, let's just go back to CodePen and let's just add Tailwind to this particular demo. And on CodePen, we can do this if we go into settings and then open CSS tab here. And here we're going to search for Tailwind. I'm going to select this, save. I see immediately that basic styles have been applied to the page. I can verify this if I open developer tools. There we go. This is my HTML element. And I see here that font family has been applied along with some other basic styles from tailwind.min.css. First thing that I want to do here is I want to apply background to my body that's going to look similar to this one. I want a linear gradient that goes from top left to bottom right. And let's see how I can apply this background. This is a really beautiful search bar. I have to say this immediately. Okay, background image, this is what I want. The background gradient to bottom right, this is what I want. I will apply it to the body tag, and on CodePen, you can do this if you go to settings again and HTML, add classes to HTML. So let's try this. Background gradient to bottom right. Let's just copy colors from here to see if this actually works on CodePen. All right, save. It appears to be working. It's not what we want, but we'll get there. Okay, and where can I actually find colors that are available for gradients? So let me search for color, default color palette. Oh, this is the orange that I want, orange 400. Then I want red 500, or maybe 600, and purple 500. Okay, so we'll try from purple 500, exactly as we have, to orange 600. This is not what I want. Something is not working right. To orange 600. If I want to use three colors in my gradient, I have to use from, via, and to keywords. Sounds very reasonable. I just still don't understand why is the orange color not working for me. Let's figure that out. Okay, let's see. Let's find orange here. So orange is not available by default, apparently. Yellow 600. All right, let's try this. So we'll go from pink via red to yellow 500. All right, this could be it. Confusing part about the colors is that orange as keyword is not really available for some reason, at least not in CodePen, or I don't know how to use it. That is really strange. Regardless, I think this is pretty much okay for our gradient. We've done the first part. The second part is we want the body to stretch the entirety of the viewport. So I actually want to set minimum height Here it is. Minimum height screen. I think this is what I want. And I'll set this on an HTML element. Let's see if it works. And it does. Really nice. This is almost good enough, but I want a little bit hotter red here actually. So I'll try to just change the red to maybe 600. Yeah, this seems a lot better. And those color stops from 100, 200, 300 seem to be very intuitive, and I can very easily, almost as in HSL color format, increase the saturation by just upping the number from 500 to 600. Really nice. This is great for our initial setup. Now, next thing that we want to do, we want to create this container for our menu. This is going to be set on our header element. And here I actually want a semi-transparent color. We'll set class on our header element. And I'll find background color. So I just need to add BG minus, I think minus 500, because this is the color that we've used. Yeah, maybe just increase saturation a little bit. How far can we go? 800. This is great. And now I just want to add a little bit of transparency to that. How can I add transparency? Transparency. Not transparency, opacity maybe. And backgrounds. Changing the opacity. Oh, okay. So I just use slash and the percentage of the actual opacity that I want. Very interesting and very intuitive. So let's see if it works. 50% opacity. This is not working actually. So I'm thinking that this might be related to CodePen, and for some reason opacity modifier is not available. Is this possible? Let's just see here in minified Tailwind source if I can actually find this. 500/50. Yeah, this doesn't seem to be available. Let's see. I'm using Tailwind 2219 and the latest version is 330. So CodePen here is actually using a really old version of Tailwind, and I actually want to include the latest version. So I'll find exactly how to include it somewhere in the docs. CDN. Okay, so I'll just actually include Tailwind via the script tag, which is, as the documentation states here, designed only for development purposes. So this should be good enough for our example. So I will just add this CDN script tag and let's see if it works. This is exactly what we wanted. And now this opacity seems to be working. Let's try 75% opacity. And all right, I think that's pretty great. Let me add a little bit of margin here. And I'm guessing I just have to search for margin. Oh, there's a whole bunch of classes here. I'll just use top and bottom and left and right. So for left and right, I want to use MX because it's going to be on the X-axis. And for bottom and top, I want to use MY because Y is going to be the Y-axis. Sounds very reasonable. So let's try this. I will add margin Y 12. Actually, let's just add 12 altogether. Right here, I'm guessing that I can use padding just in the same way. 12. Okay, but I actually want to use different values for top and bottom and left and right. So I'll set padding on the X-axis to 12 and padding on the Y-axis or top and bottom to something like 11, maybe even 10. I'm actually surprised right now how easy it is to tweak the design this particular way, because those classes seem to be very logically set up, and I have no problems understanding of how to apply padding once I understand how margin works, which is pretty great. So let's just set up the layout properly here and position the logo on the left and the navigation on the right. So I'm going to apply flexbox to my header element, and I will just search for flexbox here. I actually want to set display flex. Oh, I want a display property, right? Display flex. Oh, okay. So I actually want flex, which is going to set the display to flex. Perfect. And now I want space between those elements. Space between. All right, this is not it. Or maybe I just want to justify context. Justify between. Okay. Justify context, space between. That is pretty great. And I also want to set flexbox on my UL element to have those in a horizontal manner as well. And this is going pretty great. But this background is not good enough. I actually want it to be a lot darker. Okay, that's great. Let's add border radius now. Medium border radius on my header element. And that is working really nicely. I'm actually quite a bit impressed right now. All right, let's tweak navigation menu items here. I'm gonna make them a little bit bigger, change the color, and add a background image. So let's see if I can figure that out. First, I want to increase the font size. Let's see, font size, text large, text XL. So this is setting both font size and line height, which seems to be reasonable. And this is the theme that I'm repeating constantly. Reasonable, reasonable, reasonable. From what I see until now, things in Tailwind seem to be set up in a way that they help you do things a little bit faster. In this example, if you're changing font size, you're immediately changing line height as well, which you almost always want, and Tailwind does that for you, which is, I think, really good. So let's try setting this here, text large. Text large is actually not large enough. I actually want something like XL or 2XL. Let's try this. Maybe 2XL. Okay, let's stick with that for now. Let's add a little bit of spacing between those. So I want flex gap here, or just gap property. Let's see if we can find this. Gap between elements. Let's see. I can change the gap between rows and columns using the gap X and gap Y. You can set gap in pixels, or you can set gap in rem units. Is that it? Yeah. Okay, so I want something like either gap 4 or either gap 2. Sizing here is also consistently set up, so I understand that if 4 is 1 rem unit, then 2 or half of that is going to be 0.5 rem units. Right, let's try gap 4. Maybe 6 is going to be better. Okay, and let's change the text color on our anchor links. And for that, we're gonna add class on our A links, and I'm guessing text white 100. All right, I need to jump into documentation. Text color. Oh, yeah, makes sense. Text white. Let's try this. Okay, but I really actually want graininess here. Maybe text slate 300. And then on hover, I want to change it to white. So let's try doing that. Slate 300, and text white should be only on hover. And let's see how hover works. I'm guessing we're going to set hover using the slash like we did before. Okay, let's see. Oh no, it's just hover column. Okay, so hover text white. And now let's see if this actually works. It does. I also want to have transition here. So let's try it. Transition property. Okay, let's just try transitioning colors and see what we get. That looks great. And right here, I see that transition property will be set on all color properties, and timing function is actually a custom one along with the 150 milliseconds of duration. I like all that. Seems pretty good. And I also like how this is set up in a way that transition all sets transition property to everything, while transition by itself is going to transition properties that are usually transitioned, like colors, shadows, filters, transform. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty nice. Let's add background to this item, like we have here. This should be dark purple. Let's see what in colors are available here. The color palette. So I want here pink 950. Let's try this one. Background pink 950. Let's add padding here. Padding Y is going to be a little bit less than padding X. So let's set padding Y to 4 and see how it looks. Right, and padding X is going to be then 6. And this is a little bit too much altogether. So let's reduce the text size a little bit, maybe to XL. And that is because I want those items to be in balance with my logo, so they're not actually more prominent than my logo. I'm going to add border radius as well. Let's use rounded MD as we did here, so they're actually in balance. And if I want to add hover effect to the background as well, I can just use another hover modifier, hover, and we're going to use background 900 maybe. Nope, that is not going to be good. Let's see what's available. Maybe we use 950 with opacity, 950 with 75% opacity. Let's try this. It's subtle, but good enough for now. So let's copy this class to all other anchor links. And now right here, this seems like overkill, repeating all of those classes for my 4 different elements. But at the same time, I'm thinking I would still have to copy the class that I applied to this element 4 times. So it might not be a big deal. But if I want to change something for the styles, then it is going to be a big deal because I'm going to have to tweak it on 4 different places. And if I just use CSS, then I would be able to jump into CSS, change the selector that would target those anchor links, and then I wouldn't have to change anything else. So this is probably a trade-off that we're talking about when we're talking about the negative sides of Tailwind. Okay, let's reduce spacing here a little bit between those items. I think that's too much. Maybe gap 4. Okay. So this is not what I would expect for a responsive version. So we want flex wrap on our header and our UL list. Let's see how this works. Flex wrap. Okay, so flex wrap is all we need here. Flex wrap and flex wrap. And while we're here, let's align those items vertically. So I'm thinking align center. Yeah, no. Just for items. Actually, we want align items, right? Okay, so items center. Items center. And that is exactly what I wanted. And we're almost there. We just need to figure out how to create the responsive version. And for the responsive version, we actually want to add spacing between the logo and navigation items, because we never want this situation to happen. We always want to have a gap here. And for that, I'm just going to add gap to my header element. This is going to be gap. Let's try 6. Still a little bit more, maybe 10. Okay, yeah. And now we just want to center those items when they wrap for our responsive version. And is there actually a way to set a responsive breakpoint to something like 1080 pixels or 1090? Let's figure it out. Responsive. Okay, so we have fixed breakpoints. I can't really tweak it exactly as I want. I can do XL or large. And this is too much for me, and this is too little for me. That's not ideal, but it's just the restriction of Tailwind. So if I want to use that breakpoint, I actually have to add a column and then a class that I want to actually use. All right, let's try it. We're going to add maximum large column. Let's just change background color to pink 500, just so we can see if this actually works. Yeah, it does work. So my thoughts on this are, Tailwind restricts you a lot, like any framework would when you're working with media queries, because I like to set my breakpoints exactly at the point where the design breaks. There's probably a way for this to be set up in Tailwind, but for now, let's just work with that restriction in mind, and let's try to figure out how can we make this design look good, even though we have to work with the fixed breakpoints that Tailwind provides. And I already feel overwhelmed by the number of classes here. At this point, this seems very unreadable to me. So we actually want to tweak our design to fit all of that content. And to do that, let's reduce the size of those items a little bit. So let's change padding to 3 and 5. Maybe we can actually change this to 4. And let's copy this to my other items so I can see if things are a little bit better now. Okay. Okay, yeah, this will work. But now instead of changing color, I actually want to change layout exactly at that point. So let's remove media queries from links and let's add them to header. All right, I'll add it here and I'll remove the background, and I want to change flex direction to column. So how do we do that? Flex direction, flexical is going to set flex direction to column. Okay. Let's see. Great, exactly what I want. And we actually want to set display of all of those items to block. So let me tweak this. Here, I just need to set block. I'm thinking, just as this is flex, this should be block. And this appears to be exactly what I want. Okay. And the issue here with Tailwind is that if I want to tweak some of the things on my anchor links, I need to copy and paste all tweaks to every item. Now, this might not be an issue in an editor in VS Studio Code, for example, where I can use just the multiple selection tool. Now, there are multiple cursors available on CodePen, but from my understanding, I have to manually click exactly at the point where I want this. While in Visual Studio Code, I can use keyboard shortcuts to actually add multiple cursors exactly where I want them. In any case, once we have cursors exactly where we want, it shouldn't be a problem to tweak all of those items simultaneously. So the argument I made a little bit earlier about needing to copy paste all of the tweaks to different items is probably not reasonable, because once you change your mindset to Tailwind way of working, you can just immediately, when working with multiple items that need to have similar properties, use multiple cursors and avoid an issue altogether, if that makes sense for you. Let's add display block here. Okay, this is much better now. And I would like to align those items to center once the wrapping starts happening. And for that, I need to set justify content center. So I'm guessing justify center. And I guessed correctly. And lastly, I want to reduce the spacing between my logo and the navigation items when in column layout. We added gap 10 here, but we actually want horizontal gap 10. So is this going to be it? Yep, this is going to be it. And for vertical gap, we want to have 5. It's going to be wide 5. And as you see, I'm starting to pick up how the Tailwind is actually working, so I don't even have to jump into documentation to figure out the basics. And that's really nice actually, because I just spent maybe an hour working on this particular component, and I'm already picking up on the clues. I'm already picking up on the way the Tailwind is set up and how it actually works. And we're actually done right here. We didn't use any CSS, obviously, and this is working pretty nice. So the main problem I had with this particular demo is that I've used CodePen, and on CodePen, unfortunately, there is a really old version of Tailwind available from the CDN. So I needed to figure that out first, because some things that I've tried didn't work initially, but that's not Tailwind's fault. That's just the way I set up this demo, unfortunately. And if anyone for CodePen is actually watching this video, hi Chris, can you please just update the Tailwind to the latest version so we can work with it with no issues? In any case, number one, I'm really impressed. I'm able to pick it up really easily, but the thing that still bothers me a little bit, at least right now, is this still feels like I'm writing CSS. I'm just not writing it in CSS, but rather in HTML. And I'm able to pick up exactly what I want because I'm just writing CSS with HTML classes. I get the appeal. I get why people are so eager to jump into it and why they want to work with it. But the thing that still really bothers me is that this just feels like I'm writing CSS by avoiding writing CSS. So instead of writing CSS in CSS, I'm writing it in HTML. Okay, there are some advantages to this, but from the point of me working perspective, I can just as well write all of this in CSS using a couple of classes in my HTML. So even though I am impressed how easy it is to pick it up, I'm still not convinced that I actually would want to use it. I will have to dig into Tailwind a little bit deeper to understand more, and I definitely will. If you want me to create a couple more components using Tailwind, let me know, and I think that the next one is going to go a lot smoother. And to be perfectly honest, this one I think did go pretty smoothly as well once I figured out the problem with CodePen. In any case, thank you so much for your attention. My name is Zoran Jambor. I will see and hear you in the next Tailwind CSS utility class, or rather in the next video.